Well, I'm here in the centre of Sheffield, just been to visit a brilliant steel manufacturer, one of those rare industries which really are growing and actually employing new people, which is great. And I thought I'd just take a few minutes now to answer some of the questions which have come on Facebook and Twitter recently. Peter Hudson asked, if there was a hung parliament, would you back Labour or the Tories? Well, you know, obvious thing to say, but I can't really predict exactly how you're going to vote and what the outcome of the election is going to be. But what you are, I think, entitled to ask of me is, what are our priorities, what are the Liberal Democrat priorities in whatever situation we find ourselves in, whether there is a hung parliament or not, whether we're in government or not. And on that, I think we've been really clear. We've been clear that our priorities are fairer taxes, raising the income tax threshold to £10,000 so that no one has to pay any income tax on the first £10,000 that they earn, paid for by closing the huge loopholes that only benefit the very rich. The smaller class sizes and one-to-one tuition through the pupil premium. A new approach to the economy, backing the kind of new green manufacturing that in the company that I saw here in Sheffield is a good example there. They are actually employing new people to build the huge offshore wind turbines that we're now going to install in the North Sea, and of course splitting up the banks and making sure that they can never again hold a gun to the head of the rest of the British economy. And fourth and finally, making sure that we completely reinvent politics, turn it upside down and inside out, clean up the rotten system of politics, making sure, for instance, that people have got a right to sack their MP if their MP has been shown to be corrupt. Rachel Phillipson asked, would you be prepared to change the laws of marriage to allow homosexual couples the same rights as heterosexual couples are granted? Yes, quite simply yes. I think there's no reason why there should be any discrimination left between the way in which heterosexual and homosexual couples enter into partnerships, and yes, why don't we call it marriage? Salim Sidat asks on Facebook, what do you feel is the problem with the NHS and what are you going to do about it? Well, actually earlier today in the morning I was visiting a hospital up in Durham and speaking to the nurses there and the managers. I think what's gone wrong really is that we're spending a huge amount of money in the NHS on things which aren't really an absolute priority, whilst priority things like maternity services, mental health services, A&E departments, GP services are being starved of cash. You know, we've just heard just yesterday that 5,000 new managers have been employed in the NHS over the last year, costing you, the taxpayer, hundreds of millions of pounds. There's been an 84% increase in the number of managers in the NHS. There are more managers and bureaucrats in the NHS than there are NHS beds. And all the while, maternity services, maternity wards, for instance, are being threatened with closure. A&E departments are being closed. I was up in Burnley the other day. They've closed the A&E department there. You've now got to travel 25 miles to the A&E department in Blackburn if you have an emergency. The maternity ward where my third son was born just over a year ago in an NHS hospital in London is being threatened with closure. So I'm saying, let's strip away a lot of the way in which money is being wasted on bureaucracy. We, for instance, would get rid of strategic health authorities altogether and use the money pound for pound, pence for pence, to protect the frontline services upon which we all depend. Gilly Carroll says that her husband is an army officer who served 3 tours in Afghanistan the past 4 years, and this has had a huge impact on her family. And that there's been pay freezes, and this is really, and MOD cuts which have really hit her family hard. What do we want to do? I mean, I think the main thing I want to do for a start is give a decent wage for anyone who starts in the army. I mean, I think it's just ridiculous and inexplicable that the government is paying people who start on junior ranks in the army serving on the front line in Afghanistan. I think it's about £4,000 or £5,000 less than someone who starts on a junior rank in the police or the fire service. I'm saying give everybody a decent wage, exactly equivalent to people who start in the police or the fire service too, and that can be paid for by cutting the astronomical waste. Too many people working in the MOD in Whitehall. You've got hundreds and hundreds of people working in the MOD communications and press area, for instance. And I think we can do a lot more as well to make sure that the right to a decent accommodation for all families in our armed services is made automatic and is also provided much more quickly. I was at Clegg just the other day talking to some families of very, very seriously injured soldiers who come back from Afghanistan, and it's amazing what they do in Clegg, and they get fantastic aftercare as well. But I kind of got the impression, speaking to the family, that there's still much more that we can do when soldiers who perhaps can't carry on in the armed services are sort of released into, back into civilian life. Are they really being given all the follow-through and follow-up support that they so desperately need? And finally, I think this is a Twitter, I was asked by our cow Molly, would I like the ice cream that I helped to make last week in the farm, at the Our Cow Molly farm in Sheffield. Is there someone in Sheffield that we can drop it off for you? Yep, my constituency office in Nethergreen in Sheffield would be delighted to receive pots of Our Cow Molly ice cream, and I'm looking forward to eating it myself.